Hamilton Radio, either on the web or on the app. Either way, we're live. Tonight's a good night. I have a very, very, very special guest on the show tonight. His name is Dr. Scott McQuaid, and I'm going to bring him on in about 5 minutes. Tonight, we're going to talk about a few things involving religion. And, I just want to put a couple of disclaimers out there. First of all, this show is more of a conscious radio show. We talk about a few things. We talk about religion. We talk about conscious eating, getting your diet right, and we talk about things that are going on with the banking industry and the government so that people are made aware and abreast of what's going on so they can get their situations in order. I am a person that is purporting to fight against ignorance. I probably need to put my headphones on so I can hear myself better. That's better. Yep, there we go. Cool. So there are a lot of things that will be talked about on this show that are quite controversial. If anybody knows me and they know my personality and they know me very well, they know I'm a very controversial person. Not because I like to start trouble, but I like to get people to think. I like to talk about things that aren't normally talked about, the things that people like to skate over, and the subject matters that people that are afraid of, the things that people are afraid of talking about, such as different matters in the church. Now, I'm going to bring a lot of guests on this show that have their own opinions and expertise, and, the opinions expressed by my guests are not necessarily the opinions held by myself. However, I do respect the research and the expertise of the guests that I bring on. So this is a platform that is safe for them to talk. So as much as I will invite people to call in, ask questions, make a comment, I will not tolerate anyone bashing my guest or looking to get into a heated debate with either myself or my guest, because that's not what we're here for. We're here to have intelligent conversation. We're here to have intelligent dialogue on things that will get people thinking. If you disagree, good. That's fine. Go do your research and find out why you disagree. Don't just say you disagree or you don't like what we said. Go find out why. Remember, this is the Freedom Truth radio show where the truth will make you mad first and then make you free. That's our motto here. So we're all about getting people to think, getting people to become more aware of what's going on instead of being oblivious and having their head in the sand like an ostrich. Now, before we go into talking to my guest, I just want to go into a couple of things that we're going to talk about tonight. My guest is very prolific in his expertise as far as theology is concerned. He's an exegetical theologian with many years' experience in breaking down scripture and the Bible and just going into the ancient language that it was originally written in. Now, this is not a typical religious program. First of all, it's not a religious program at all. Just talking about subject matter that is getting across to people and making them think about things that they never thought about, or perhaps answering some questions that they might have had a long time ago if they're a person that's a churchgoer or has had an interest in the Bible or has had questions about the Bible. And this is going to be a place for them to be able to get them to thinking and going into doing some research for themselves and answering those questions that they've had that have never been answered, specifically probably by the church or any pastor or preacher that they've asked. Now, I'm going to say something that may offend some people, and it may not, but, either way, it doesn't matter to me. Many people know me, have known me for years, and know my involvement with the church. However, in my position now, I have some problems with things that go on in the church, and I've sort of withdrawn myself from some of the typical beliefs. So I don't refer to myself as being a Christian. Oh, hold on, stop the music. Oh, turn that guy off. He's the devil. No. Okay, well, just before you hit that button to turn me off, let me give you a little explanation as to why I don't refer to myself as a Christian. See, a lot of times we give ourselves labels or we subscribe to labels on things. We don't really know the meaning of words. The word Christian, the etymology of that word, comes from the ancient Greek and also the Latin, the word meaning Christianos, which comes from a derived word called Cretan. And that word is very derogatory. It doesn't mean what you think it means. It does not mean to be a follower of Christ. It does not mean to be a person who has embraced salvation as prescribed in the so-called Gospels of the Bible. It's not what Christian means. Christian is a word you will find in the Bible written about 3 times, twice in the book of Acts, once in the book of 1 Peter. And that word was a word used as mockery to those who were followers of the person known as the Messiah, as we call Yeshua. I don't like to call him Jesus because that is a Greek word. That is not what his original name was. And also, it was a way of them making fun of those that decided to follow his path. Originally, they were actually called people of the way. But when the Pharisaical Jews called them Christian, and actually that was not even the original word. That we're looking at the New Testament from Greek eyes, from a Greek understanding, and it's been translated into English. And English is one of the absolute worst languages to have anything translated into because it's not even a real language. It's a hybrid of about 13 languages. So you have to look at the original words. You have to look at etymology. And we'll go back and study etymology of words. Yes, I do try to live my life by a moral Christ code, if you will. However, I do not identify myself as being a Christian because I know what the actual word means. And if you look at the actual word in the translation, it never meant to be Christ-like. The translation was actually manipulated. And you might want to think about everything that is actually written in the Bible was published by a man. And the thought that you want to bring to your mind is that he who publishes the page controls the information of the age. Let that sink in. He who publishes the page controls the information of the age. Now, some people may have a problem with that, and that's okay. I'm not here to really make friends. I'm here to put information out that will get people to think. Now, this is just the tip of the iceberg, but I'm going to bring my guest on who can go into that a whole lot deeper. Dr. McQuaid, are you there?
I am, Vincent. How are you?
I'm just fine. It's good to have you on, and I'm very honored to have you on my show. I'm
honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Sure. I'm sure you have a quite busy schedule as you do teach your own curriculum and you have students of your own. So I'm very glad that you were able to take some time out to be on this show and help me get this word of truth out.
Well, absolutely. My pleasure.
Well, without further ado, I'm going to turn the floor over to you, and you can just have at it and go into any subject matter you will that you feel needs to be addressed, dealing with the Bible or dealing with the language the Bible was written in. Take the direction as you would, sir. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Vincent. I appreciate that. You know, there's a lot to get into in our program. So what I'm going to do, first of all, is I want to ask everybody listening to, please, if you're going to be serious about learning the truth, you need to take notes tonight and anytime you hear me speak, because the information, and I should say the lion's share of the information that I'm going to relay to you tonight is not available anywhere else from any other source, any other person or scholar or theologian, anybody. It comes from my personal research and my time spent with the Father. The Father has shown me a tremendous wealth of information over the last 2 decades to fulfill my call. He called me as a young boy to be a messenger of the end times and to give the truth to the people. Now you say, well, that's a bold statement. Well, say what you will about it. I'm just telling you the truth. That's who I am. It's what I do. And there's a lot to get in. So take notes, pay close attention, and listen closely to what I'm going to tell you. What we're dealing with here at this late date in history is a hijacking of the truth. The truth is medicine for your soul and your spirit. It is that healing, it's that healing salve which puts you in a right place with the Father. It opens your eyes to your situation here. It lets you know who you are, how you got here, who put you here, what you're supposed to be doing. And it is the mechanism of your freedom from those who have hijacked the truth. This is why you don't know it. Now, I will say the same thing that Vincent just said. I'm not here to make friends, okay? As a matter of fact, because of the kind of call that I have in my life, it's easy to make enemies. When you speak the truth, enemies are abundant, okay?
Very much so.
It's just the way it is, isn't it, Vincent?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So I can love you and promise to tell you the truth, but I'm not here to be your friend. If you disagree with me and you want to be my enemy, that's your choice. I love everyone until you try to cause problems or choose otherwise. But those who have hijacked the truth are literally the ones who are imprisoning your soul. Okay? Now, Christians will be the first to jump on this and say, well, we have been emancipated because of the blood of Christ, which was the propitiation for our sins at his death on the cross. You have a lot to learn. You have a lot to learn because you have been lied to. What you believe about the death of Christ is one of the oldest stories, and I'll go as far as to say the oldest story ever told to humanity. And it is a ruse. It contains a tremendous amount of truth, but not in the way that you think it does. The whole list there's a long list of Messiah figures that were born of a virgin, that were the sons of God, manifested in the flesh through a virgin, that did miracles, were the saviors of humanity, were killed, even some of them on a cross, were buried and rose again. Okay? Christianity does not have the market cornered on that. Now, you can argue, like Vincent said a minute ago. You can argue, you can disagree, but one thing that you will learn if you ever want to be free is your opinion does not matter. My opinion doesn't matter. All that matters in this life is knowing the truth. We have this thing in our society because of our pride and our egos and all this self-aggrandizing mentality that has been bred into us by the evil powers that be, that our opinions matter. We've had the freedom of speech, the freedom of the press. You can say what you want. Voice your opinion, Johnny. Voice your opinion, Susie. You let that man know what you think. And from the time we're born, we're taught that our opinions matter. But they don't. The powers that be promulgate that lie to foster confusion in Babylon. That's what Babylon means. It means confusion, and it means to mix. That's what you've been taught, that you should express your opinion, and your opinion matters, but it doesn't. The word opinion is from the word pinion. A pinion is a wing or a feather. And when you embrace the idea that you can express your opinion and your opinion matters, you are literally engaging in the same philosophy that the fallen angels have taught you and that they believe, that their opinion matters over the truth. They put their opinion over the truth. That's why the fallen angels are always represented as the winged ones. Okay? The winged ones. That's what pinion means. Pinion means wing or feather, like a rack and pinion steering, the wings on both sides of the car there. And so when you are expressing your opinion, whether it be because you feel like you can, or because you feel like you're an expert, or you feel like you're a theologian, maybe you've got an associate's or bachelor's or master's or PhD, or maybe you've got 5 PhDs or whatever. You say, well, I have it right now because I've been through the educational curriculum. Let me tell you, you don't. And the more you embrace that philosophy to express your opinion and to hold on to your opinion, the harder it will be for you to learn the truth. So let me clarify some of the things that I just said. I told you that the powers that be are the ones who are incarcerating your soul. And you think because, and those of you who are Christians, and if you're a Muslim or a Jew or even agnostic, atheist, whatever, you need to pay attention too, because this is all about humanity and the state of the soul of humanity. Okay, it makes no difference what your religious views are, or your political views, or your philosophical views. None.
That's right.
This is about the truth that cuts through all of those facades, all of those false things. Okay, the ones who incarcerate your soul are the same ones in Judaism, in Islam, in Christianity, in Hinduism, and other religions, who were the makers of man, literally. Now, Christians will say, well, the God of the Bible is not the God of Islam. That's heresy. Well, I have news for you. What Vincent told you at the beginning of the show is absolutely true. He said it in a different way than I would, but that's okay. He said the same thing. The Word is what matters. And it's not in such a way that Christians think. Christians say, well, yes, the Word of God does matter. The Word of God is not the Bible. The Bible never refers to itself as the Word.
Mm-mm.
When it says thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path, it is not a reference to the Bible. The Bible wasn't even compiled when those words were written. It means the Word. It means literally what it says, words. The truth is in the Word. You can call it word. You can call it way. You can call it code. You can even call it law if you want to. It is the truth. This is why those who incarcerate your soul, whether you call them Allah, Jehovah, Elohim, or other names for God, that's why they fragmented the Word in the beginning, the Tower of Babel. This is why they said we must confuse their language, lest there is nothing that they cannot accomplish. Well, why would a God that loves you and wants the best for you want you not to accomplish everything you can and be the best you can be? Because those who made you were not God in the way that you think of God, with a capital G. And to know this, you first of all have to be honest. This is one of the hardest things for humans to do, much less for people who embrace a religious view.
Yes.
Okay? Honesty is key. It is absolutely imperative to know the truth. Let me give you an example of a lie that you believe. Elohim and Allah are the same thing. They both are exactly from the Arabic root al, A-L. They just are spelled differently. One is spelled Allah, one is spelled Elohim. They're the same thing. They come from the same exact root. The word does not lie. Elohim in the Hebrew, furthermore, does not mean God, and it never has meant God with capital G singular. Elohim means rulers, judges, and angels. That's what it means. And gods with a little g, plural. Gods, rulers, judges, and angels. The rulers and the judges, those black-robed fools who sit up on their pompous perches in the houses of Satan, literally are Elohim. That's why Asu, I call Jesus Asu. It goes back to the cuneiform. That's what this name originally was. Asu, Christ, said, beware of those who like to walk around in their robes. He's not just talking about the Jewish rabbis. He's talking about those who embraced the philosophy that extended from the Jewish tradition, the code, the law, the Torah, whatever you want to call it, that has blossomed, or I shouldn't say blossomed, that has been bloated into millions of ordinances and statutes within the code of law. Those are the ones who rule over you. They make the laws that govern you, that keep you incarcerated. These are the offspring, you can say, of the fallen ones, quite literally, in every sense of the meaning. Okay? Now, Christians will also say, well, that could be true, but it's Jehovah, Yahweh, who is the creator of man. Well, I have to correct you again, because that's what I do. I correct wrong, and I teach you the truth. Yahweh is not a name. Now, I know there's a lot of pastors out there, a lot of preachers out there who say, oh, this is heresy, I'm turning this off. Margaret, let's go out and get a pizza. This man is full of the devil. He's a false teacher. I know it. I have it happen to me every single day, because you are liars. You are those who love the lie, like the Bible says. You are those who call evil good and good evil. You are the fools. Now, again, I'm not trying to make enemies. I'm telling you what your Bibles say. And I'll tell you clearly here in a few minutes, and please remind me if I forget, Vincent, but I will tell you why, specifically, with clarity, the Bible calls you fools. It has to do with your genetics and what you did long ago at the time of the Ark of the Covenant. Right. I'm going to go into that, and you better take notes, because this is all about your soul. It's about knowing the truth to go home. But Yahweh, Jehovah, is not a name. Never has been a name. No, you can yell, scream from the mountaintops, right, and argue until your tongue turns blue if you want, but you're wrong. The Tetragrammaton is YHVH, or Yod Heh Vav Heh in the Hebrew. Right. And it's all that it is. Tetragrammaton is a Greek word that means 4 letters. That's all it is. In the Hebrew language, which is an Abjad language, and I know those of you have heard me say this before, if you've heard my interviews or whatever, but I have to start here, because this is the crux of the matter.
Good start.
These letters are from the Hebrew language, which is an Abjad, A-B-J-A-D language. It's consonant-based. And in the Abjad or Abugida language, which is also consonant-based, you must have vowel markings to tell you what vowel sounds to place between the consonants in order to know how to pronounce them. If they aren't there, you do not pronounce it. And this is not because the name of God is so holy that they left them out. There are no vowel markings in those letters in the oldest texts that we have. 0. None. How do we pronounce it then? Because you can't by the laws of language. You are not to do that. Well, the Jewish rabbis arbitrarily added them. In, I forget, it was like the 5th century or something like this. They added them. Okay? Arbitrarily, they just added them. But they were never there in the oldest text. They were simply 4 letters. And I'm going to tell you a secret now, and one of many that I will share with you, that you will never hear from anyone else. Because the world-renowned scholars that I had as my seminary professors and as my university professors at Asbury and Mount Vernon and these different universities I went to, the Ashland Theological Seminary, they could never answer these questions. And this is one of the biggest, that they looked at me like I was causing trouble or something because they didn't have the answer. It was my fault that they couldn't answer it. So I must be a troublemaker, right? Since you can't answer my questions. This is how a lot of people are treated when they ask questions that are not answerable by the traditional views of Christianity. You're treated as an outcast. Absolutely. You're treated as a troublemaker. And so they couldn't answer the question. So what I did is I left the seminary, I left church, everything. I left it all because the Father tells us in Revelation 18:4 to come out of it. And so finally I had enough. I left. I was done. I had been on mission trips around the world. I sang in a Christian band. I did street ministry. I worked at the church. I did all kinds of things. I started a church. I did all kinds of things. And that was my whole life from the time I was born, literally. Every bit of my education was Christian. And I left. Done. And in the process, I lost a lot of friends. But the Father called me to do that. And He has taken care of me ever since. When I embarked on this journey and I decided to finally obey, which is a big problem for humans, much less those in the religions of the world. When I finally decided to obey and lay aside my will, I left the band, left the church, left the seminary, left everything. which was my life. I fasted, excuse me, I fasted and prayed for 3 days. When I finally did this, and I said, Father, I'm ready to embrace my call, he showed me what I needed to do. And this is one of literally thousands of things he's taught me since that time through my research into exegesis. And this is how the letters YHVH play out. They are a ruse. They are a ruse. They were taken from an older language and turned backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Isaiah 29, 15, and 16 tell us that this would happen, though, as a warning to us. It says, long ago there were men who hid their counsel. They met in secret, in other words, to hide from God. And in doing so, turned things hofek. Hofek is the word upside down and backwards. It's both. It means upside down and it means backwards. They did that. And in doing so, that turning of things backwards would be esteemed or looked upon as the potter's clay. Or you can say the potter and the clay. Well, where are the potter and the clay? They're in the first part of Genesis, in Genesis chapter 2, when that figure comes on the scene to mold man out of the clay. It is that figure who does that, hidden behind the letters YHVH. So I knew, since the Father had led me to that verse, I knew this is where I needed to take this. And so I researched and I found out some different things about the language in this, and I had to look into the Aramaic, because the Aramaic is the language that immediately preceded Hebrew. It's an older language that preceded Hebrew. Pardon me. And I looked at these letters, and I looked at the Hebrew alphabet and the Aramaic alphabet, and I transliterated these letters. When you translate a word, or when you change a word from one language to the next, you translate it. When you do that with letters, you transliterate it. And so I did that with the letters. And the letters went in the Aramaic, which is where they got the YHVH, are I-A-U-A. I-A-U-A. The I-A-U-A transliterate perfectly to the YHVH. Then I took that verse seriously, that they had secretly turned things backwards. And so being called by the Father to unveil things, to open the book of Daniel, which is what I do, I knew that I had to turn those things, those 4 letters, backwards. And when I did that, they became A-U-A-I. Now, those of you who have heard me before, you know where I'm going with this. But for those of you who haven't, here's what they mean. In the Bible, we have story after story after story that we think, or we've been taught, that is original or unique to the Bible. You've got the creation story, you've got the story of Adam and Eve, you've got the story of Noah and the ark, you've got the story of Samson and Delilah, and Ishtar, or Esther and Mordecai, and on and on and on. Daniel in the lion's den, it goes on and on. These stories are not unique to the Bible. Okay, almost no story is unique to the Bible within its pages. That's a fact. And honest scholars know this. Okay? But those who do are shunned. They're kicked out of the churches, they're blackballed, they're belittled, they're slandered, they're criticized, and they are ruined many times because Christians are fools. Christians are liars. And that's not because you're dumb or you don't love God, it's because you don't love the truth. You love your doctrines more than you love the truth. And the same applies for Muslims and Jews, because all these religions were created to keep you scattered, to keep you divided, and therefore to keep you in the dark. Now, when I come along and I talk, you need to listen, because no one else is going to tell you the things I'm going to tell you, at least not at this point. So this is a very serious thing that you're embarking on. Those letters go back to the beginning, just like the stories. When we look at the oldest creation story that man has, it is from the Cuneiform, the Sumerians, in their Cuneiform writings on the tablets. They talk about, in the Enuma Elish, which is their creation epic, they talk about entities creating Adam, who they call Adama, and who placed him in a garden that they created, and they named the garden Eden, okay? And they made him from clay pots. All these things are the same. The potter in the Bible, Adam in the Bible, Eden in the Bible, the maker of man in the Bible, everything's the same. It's exactly the same, minus maybe a vowel or something, but the vowels don't matter. They're insignificant. It is the truth of these stories that is important. Everything is the same in these stories. However, in the Christian rendition, you have Jehovah Yahweh, who is molding man and putting him in Eden. In the Sumerian story, you have altogether different entities who are doing this. But if you know the name of the creators in the Sumerian story, you also know the name of the creators of Adam in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Because the name of the Sumerian creators are Anunnaki, the Anunnaki. And this is where the Jewish scribes got the four letters A-U-A-I, that they transliterated and turned backwards into Y-H-V-H in the Hebrew. And that, my friends, is why there are no nikud, no vowel markings that are called nikud in the Hebrew, in the oldest text of the Hebrew, because there are none. They are a reference to the Anunnaki, which is spelled A-N-U-N-A-K-I. A-U-A-I are the four letters in the Aramaic that they took out of that name Anunnaki, dropped the N-N-K, turned them around, transliterated them into the Y-H-V-H, who Christians foolishly call Jehovah Yahweh or the Lord God today, all of which are terrible, false translations. Now, here you say, okay, well, big deal, Dr. McQuaid. So the name of the creators is Anunnaki. Well, here's the problem. The Anunnaki in the sixth tablet of the Enuma Elish are called something else. They are called the fallen ones, just like Lucifer is called in the Bible. Oh, how thou art fallen, Lucifer, how thy fall didst weaken the nations. The fallen ones are the ones who made you. You are made in their image. Now, we're getting somewhere, okay? Because you are rebuilding your foundation. The foundation that was turned upside down or backwards, as it says in Isaiah 29, 15, and 16, is now being rebuilt for you if you love the truth. Now, if you are one of those people who insist on hanging on to your doctrines, you insist on believing what your pastors have told you from behind their pulpits, you insist on believing what you learned in Sunday school or seminary or Bible school or whatever, you will never know the truth. And it is the only thing that is going to make you free, like Christ said. You will know the truth, and the truth will make you free. But who was he speaking to? Well, Christians say, well, he was speaking to us. We are a holy royal priesthood. He's speaking to us. We're the children of God, saved and sanctified by the propitiation of his blood, right? Or the blood which was the propitiation of sins.
Right.
You need to just not go there. You need to just relinquish those doctrines, okay? You believe lies because they want you to remain imprisoned. When Christ said, you will know the truth, and the truth will make you free, he was not speaking to anybody except those with eyes to see and ears to hear. He was not speaking to the world. He was not speaking to a global community. He was not speaking to Christians. He was not speaking to most people.
He wasn't even a Christian.
Idea. I'm sorry, Vincent, go ahead.
I say he wasn't even a Christian.
No, absolutely not. That whole idea of Christianity is such a ruse. He had nothing to do with the establishment of Christianity, except he was knocked off the top of the pyramid and placed unjustifiably on the bottom to build upon. That's his whole role, and it's a very, very deep story, completely misunderstood by Christianity. If we have time, I will get into that tonight. But
we'll have you back. We'll have you back because that has to be explained.
Okay. But this is completely erroneously taught in Christianity. Christ, when he said this, he was speaking to a very, very narrow field of people. It's the same thing that bothered the disciples because he didn't speak the truth to the masses, ever.
No,
ever.
Did not.
And when he spoke to the 5,000 or however many, he did not speak the truth openly. And this bothered the disciples. And they stopped him one day and they said, why do you not speak the truth? Why do you only speak in parables instead of speaking the truth openly to the people? He said, and I'm paraphrasing right now, he says, having eyes they see not, having ears they hear not. He said, but for you, speaking only to his disciples, for you, having eyes to see and ears to hear. It is for you to know the secrets of the kingdom. Okay? And when you know the secrets of the kingdom, you do the will of the Father. Right? That's what you do. You are the followers of the truth, of the true way, which is very narrow, he said. He said the way to true life is narrow, and there are only few who find it. Now, what do you do with that in light of the fact that there's billions of Christians in this world? And not just now, but in the past as well. Mm-hmm. Christianity is a lie. It was manufactured just like Islam, just like Judaism, just like Hinduism. All these religions, which by definition are cults. A cult is a system of belief that gives reverence to a specific individual. Mm. Now, that is the definition I just told you of a cult. These are just big cults, guys. These are just big cults. Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Judaism, all these. And they all have the same stories told in different ways. Because the powers that be, the elite, the Illuminati, the fallen, the Luciferians, the Satanists, who govern this world just like your Bible says, are the ones who manufactured them. To give you a sense of elitism, to appeal to your ego, to give you a sense of self-aggrandizement, right, or self-entitlement. That's what they do. They are they're appeasing your ego. Oh, I'm saved. I'm washed in the blood. I'm going to heaven. No, you're not. You're not going anywhere unless you believe the truth. If you don't believe the truth, you will, I guarantee you will reject the Son, like it says in John 3:36, which none of you know what that means. Not a single person listening unless you are an apprentice of mine or you read my books. Vincent, I know that you do. Most people listening do not know what that means. John 3:36 says, if you reject the Son, you will remain in the Father's wrath. Well, guess what they've done? They have contrived all of these stories, all of these, what Titus 1:14 calls Jewish fables, to get you to not know how to accept the Son. And they've done it by telling you how to operate, how to believe, and what to believe, for the purpose of keeping you from the truth. Those who rule the world are the enemies, the Antichrist figures, who created the world, just like the Sumerian texts say. They molded it from a planet that was shattered called Tiamat. They put it all together in this petri dish that you now live in, and it is the media, just like an organism is grown in media in a petri dish. It is the media that grows you right now. It grows your thoughts. It grows your feelings. It grows everything about you. Right. You act just like the media tells you to act. You talk just like the media tells you to talk. You dress just like the media tells you to dress. You think how the media tells you to think. You use language just like the media tells you to use language. Everything about it is because you live according to the media, which is the jelly-like substance in a petri dish where organisms grow, viruses grow. A human is, by definition, a virus. A virus is a piece of genetic material wrapped in a protein shell, and that is exactly what humans are in a skin of protein. You are a virus, and there is a way to get out of this sick situation, and it's knowing the truth. It's like I said at the beginning of the talk. Truth is medicine. Think of truth as an antiviral. It's exactly what it is. And knowing the truth causes you to follow the truth. And the truth is the Son. And the Son is wormwood. And wormwood is called wormwood because wormwood is the most powerful antiviral herb on the planet. You must follow wormwood to get rid of the parasite or the virus. Now, I just gave you a fire hose of information right there, okay? And I don't expect you to really metabolize that and process it right now. But I'm not sure how much time
enough to get people, get their minds, get the fire going. Dr. McCoy, my producer actually has a question for you. He's going to get on. Ruben, go ahead.
Hey, Dr. McCoy, how you doing? Thank you for
good. How are you
on the show here.
Sure.
I have to say everything you're saying is almost towards what I'm actually the path I led. I left the church. You know, I grew up Catholic. I went to Sunday Adventist and all. I read the Bible, and a lot of things you were saying, I'm actually, you know, I'm agreeing with you. Like one, I stopped calling myself a Christian because, like, you know, Jesus never called himself a Christian. He called himself the Son of God, which is God, and we're all God's children.
Right.
You know, bad or good, you know, we're all God's children, and that's how I say we are children of God. So that's how I say that. We're not perfect, but you know, I consider us as children of God because we have, you know, one supreme Father, no matter what.
That's right.
You know, everybody else can call themselves God or whatever like that, but you can't match yourself against the Spirit itself. You know, just not going to happen. The other thing was, you're talking about like the context of the Anunnaki and how the letter J, how they call him Jesus, but the letter J wasn't made until the 15th, I think, century.
Yeah, it's only 400 years old.
Oh yeah, 400 years old, right?
It's very new.
Very, very new. So, and people put like, well, it's the same thing. I said, well, Yahshua is more like Joshua, not Jesus, if you get what I'm saying. And so, well, all the English with the English version and the English words have been changed and formatted so many different times, you know, over the course of centuries. Different words were added, different contexts were changed, and I think, do you think like over time, like you think people will wake up and say, hey, you know, the minister's lying to me because he's only showing me this part of the Bible, because they won't teach themselves? And also there's a movie called Network. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, you heard of Network? Movie. Oh, great movie. And I think that film talks and shows exactly what you're talking about, what you're discussing here with Vincent here on the show. Network, very good movie. And there's a couple of scenes in there where I guess there's more of a statement than a question.
Well, I think the question you were asking is that will people
wake up eventually and say, hey, you know, you're being lied to and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. In Genesis 2, we're told that Adam, who represents humanity, was put into a deep sleep. And that word in the Hebrew is tardima, and it means a coma-like state, or like a trance. Okay. And after that, we see him up and about, and we see him with Eve, and they're, you know, going about their business in the garden. But it never tells us anywhere in the Bible that he was awoken from that deep sleep.
Right.
So this is what truth does. Truth is that healing salve that literally, like imagine putting salve on your eyes, literally rubbing it on your eyes if you have an infection or something, and then you can see finally. Once you were blind, now you can see. That's literally what the truth does. Most people, just like the Bible says, love the lie. When it says there are those that loveth the lie, it is a literal reference to humanity itself. You know, it doesn't matter what race you are, what religious beliefs or political beliefs you espouse. It's a reference to humanity. Politics is full of lies. Religion is full of lies. The educational system, the financial system is full of lies. But yet, can you pull people away from those things? I mean, you know what? Whenever somebody like you or Vincent or myself, we come out of a religious system, having been in it for a long time, it is literally nothing short of a miracle. Okay, I'm not saying that to make you or me feel special at all. I'm telling you, it literally is a miracle, because it's like being brainwashed from the time you're born, and then all of a sudden something clicking.
That's exactly how I felt.
And okay, well then you know what I'm talking about. This is, and I think Vincent does too. This is a supernatural thing, and it's like the disciples, right? These guys were fishermen, just everyday guys, you know.
Common people.
But when they saw the truth, when let's look at it when Christ was walking on the seashore, right? They saw him. He said, and now he's a metaphor for the truth, or a personification of the truth. Okay, so these guys, one at a time, saw the truth. What they do? They dropped their nets. They followed him because there's something in them. Call it Christ. Call it RNA. Call it uracil, which is a nucleotide. Call it, and I don't have nearly enough time to get into all this tonight, but these are those, in my humble opinion, after 2 decades of research and tens of thousands of hours of exegesis under my belt, into the cuneiform and Hebrew and Aramaic, these are unique individuals, and these are, I'm not saying special, I'm not any better than anybody else. I eat, I go to the bathroom, I sleep, I'm human, I'm like everybody else. But there are those whose names were written in the Lamb's Book of Life before the foundation of the world, because the Father knew that there was something about them that did not agree, that would not align itself with the ways of the world, period. Right. He knew it. We didn't know it. I went for 40, 30, however many years, 30 years, not knowing this, not knowing that I would come out of it and do what I do today. You know, when the Father gets a hold of you, that is when your eyes open. The problem is, I'm sorry, what was your first name?
Oh, it's Reuben.
Reuben, I'm sorry.
Yes. It's okay.
when there's very few people who are willing to relinquish their ideals, their philosophies, and their beliefs. Right. If you try to tell somebody that they can't express their opinion because it's harmful to somebody else, because it's a lie, or that they can't have the belief they do or teach the belief they do because it's going to, you know, foster the incarceration of someone's soul, they will just tar and feather you, run you out of town on a rail.
Absolutely.
The most important thing to people is that they can speak their minds. And that is a very dangerous thing. This is one of the key things. Oh, hear me, people. This is one of the key things that happened to us when when humans were breathed into in the garden. We had a spire put in us.
That's good. Yeah.
we had a spire put in us, which is a metaphor for a molecule, and this molecule is 6-sided. I'm going too deep. I'm thinking.
No. You're going.
But it's good.
Over the years, people take a lot of stuff, in the entertainment world as just entertainment, where they are telling you the truth. Charlie Chaplin gives a wonderful speech.
Oh, yes.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then there's this cartoon that came on in the 1940s, talk about ism, racism, fascism, and they're telling the truth right in your face.
Right in your face. Yeah. But we don't want to believe that.
Yeah. Even the president, what's his name, Eisenhower, said that there's people running the government that I don't want to do this anymore.
Right.
So in the show Network, They Live.
Faye Dunaway and what's his name? Yeah, great movie.
Absolutely.
So
see, these are paradigms.
Right.
These are paradigms. When I used to work in the psychology field, I was on death row working with people, and I used to give classes because those guys don't have any hope of anything. They live in a little cell. That's all. That's all they got. So I would get them in their classes, right? And that was the only time they could do anything. The guys on death row or the guys in general population at this close max facility where I was teaching. And I would teach them about paradigms. Paradigms, the way that we view the world, the filter through which we view everything in the world, right? Because I was teaching them how to change their minds. Because if you can't change your environment, like they couldn't, the next best thing is to change your mind, right?
Right.
To think differently. And I used to tell them that the most difficult thing in the world to change is your paradigm, because it's the way you think. It's a rigid, almost concrete, steel-like way of thinking that has been conditioned in you from the time you were born, from listening to the media, from listening to religious views, from listening to politics, all this about money, everything, And I said, but even though it's the most difficult thing to do, if you can do it, if you let me show you, and you follow this, and you do it, it will be the most rewarding thing you do. Because why? As a man thinketh,
so is he.
So is he.
So
Yeah.
is he. Right?
Right.
And the word there is as he thinketh in his heart.
Mhm.
As he thinks in his heart.
Right.
But the word there is the I believe it's nous. The Greeks looked at the mind
Yeah.
as the nous. It's the connection between the heart and the mind. They viewed it as one.
That's
Okay?
true.
So it's the way you think, but it's the way you feel too. They didn't distinguish. It's the same thing. If you can change that and operate outside of your incarcerating experience or environment,
Right.
which is what we are all in, you know, I can go sit on my couch, I can go take a walk, I can go fishing, I can go walk in the river, and I can do whatever, but I'm still incarcerated. This is the ruse, you see? This is the ruse.
Absolutely.
We are souls or spirits trapped in a cell, in a prison of flesh. It's what Jude 4 calls chains in darkness.
Yes.
The chains
Yeah.
to which it's referring are the chains of DNA. This is the same exact thing that it talks about in Genesis when it says Dan would be a serpent in the way. Dan is an anagram of DNA, and the serpent is not a serpent. It's what was added to us to create DNA, which is why the serpent is called the adder. Serapenta is
So
what it's
that's-
referring to. Serpent
that's
is
the spider.
Serapenta.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah is a reference to seraphim
Yes.
in the Hebrew, which is a six-edged entity, which is what our phosphate molecule is. It's a tetrahedral molecule which has 6 edges. This is what was breathed into us. And the penta is a reference to the word for 5 in Greek, which is penta. Serapenta, 6-5, because the ribose molecule to which the phosphate is attached is 5-sided. You have the serapenta.
Wow.
The serapenta is Dan. Dan is a serpent in the way, which was added. Okay? It's called a tribe of Israel, but it's a metaphor.
It's a metaphor, right?
These are all allegories, people. Every single thing. You give me enough time. I've already written 15 books, for goodness sakes. You give me time, I'll write 15 more, and you might understand, you know, a little bit more of this whole vast story. These are crucial pieces for people to understand. See, the reason I do this now, right now, at this precipice in history, is because it was prophesied. Daniel was told to seal up the book and hide the words
Until the time of the end.
until the time of the end. That's right, isn't it? We are living in that time. Let me tell you something. My heart is burdened. My heart, to me, has always been a litmus test for me as to what's going on in the world. And my heart has never been heavier than it is right now. Sometimes I feel like I'm just going to drop over and die because I am so forlorn for God's children and the fact that they do not understand the truth at this late date. When it talks about a remnant, like Christ said, the way to true life is narrow and it's only found by few. It means a few. Think of his disciples. They were 12, right? And when Judas killed himself, Matthias took his place. So there were always 12. Compared to the rest of society, they were the only ones, he said, they were the ones who knew the truth because they had eyes to see and ears to hear. What about the rest of humanity? They had access to it. Christ lived among them. They could believe it, but they wouldn't let go of the trappings of their lives. They refused to let go. It's like he said to the rich young ruler, he said, I've kept the commandments, I've done everything. What do I need to do? He said, go sell everything you had, give it to the poor. And he walked away sad. He wasn't willing to give up those things. Yeah, they meant too much to him. They meant too much. And that's the way people are. You know, give most people a television remote, a paycheck, and a roof over their head, and something to fill their belly. And they don't care about the truth. They don't care. That's all they want. And it's a sad situation. It's a sad state of affairs.
It really is.
We as a society are experiencing every single earmark of every great society that went before us before they fell. The gluttony, the fiat currency, the obsession with sex, the rebelliousness of the younger in our society, every single thing, politicians out of control, everything. If you go back and look at history, it's all there. That's why these things are coming out right now, because we are living at the time of the end. And for those of you who think that we are just going to get through this, and it's going to be a part of a cycle that humanity goes through. We're going to knock the dust off and move on to the next stage. You are deluded. You are deluded. You are under a delusion. 2 Thessalonians 2:11 says that God has handed you over to a strong delusion, right? Because you did not love the truth. And this is what it's all about. We are, I'll end with, I know we're over. I don't want to take up more time, but I'll end with this.
You'll be back.
The earth is going to be destroyed.
Yeah.
It's not one of these things where, well, it's got, we might have some cataclysmic event and, might bump the earth or do a flyby or something like this. The earth is going to be decimated. The Bible says it, never to rise again, destroyed like a vexing wife, shattered or splintered like a cottage, never to rise again. Period. We are at the end of the cycle. We were given 70 weeks to amend for sin. And none of you know what that means, but I will be back and I will tell you about this.
Yes.
We're at the end of that 70 weeks. We're done. This is, turn us over, we're done.
Well, the movies are saying it, Dr. McCoy. The movies are saying it.
Absolutely.
Every movie that has an apocalyptic theme, the message is in it because the elitists know.
Yes,
they know.
Exactly.
And they're the ones who control
their underground bunkers and their FEMA camps and all these places to hide.
Right.
If you go back, Vincent, and you were to ask your parents or your grandparents, or you could ask your great-grandparents, if TV was around then, I forget how old TV is, but ask them how many movies back then had an apocalyptic theme of all the movies.
Right.
Maybe a couple, or maybe one. Today, you've got the War of the Worlds. You've got 2012. You've got
End of Days.
Melancholia. You've got dozens and dozens and dozens of these. And it's all about this outside threat coming to the world. And this is not just programming to make people think this is going to happen. This is a Talmudic endeavor. This is what they do according to the Talmud. They put the truth right in front of you.
Yep.
If you're too ignorant to see it, it's not their fault.
Right.
Right? And this is what's happening. So,
well, Dr. McCoy, please leave your contact and website information because I have some intriguing text coming over my phone right now that people want to get your information and they want to learn more.
Yeah, if people want to learn, okay, you need to apply yourself. Right. You need to invest in yourself. I am the last person in the world that would try to sell you something, but I cannot. I don't know ESP. Okay, I'm not sure how to convey this information to you telepathically, right? So I write books, right? I've written at least 15 books, and there's DVDs and CDs. And this information is broken down for you. It doesn't matter if you're a slow reader, if you don't know anything about the Bible, it doesn't matter. All you need to do is read. I take you through step by step, and I show you the etymology of the words. I show you where it comes from in the Sumerian and from the Cuneiform. I take you by the hand, and I teach you. And these books and CDs and DVDs are available at PaxionPublishing.com. Paxion is spelled P as in Peter, AXEON Publishing.com. PaxionPublishing.com. Now, for those of you who want to take it a step further, and you would like me to teach you personally, I have an apprentice program and a social network. If you like Facebook, you'll like this. I own it. It's where I teach my apprentices. You can become an apprentice. Everyone who becomes an apprentice, I teach you one-on-one for 1 hour every month. Whether it's over the phone, you can call my 800 number, or we can do it on Skype, whatever you want. But I teach you one-on-one. If you want to do that, you can join as an apprentice at innercircle.us. Inner, I-N-N-E-R, circle.us. If apprenticeship is still open, I haven't checked recently, but today, but it should be. But that is a way to learn too. And if you join for a year or lifetime, I send you some really nice bonuses, and you also get several months free also.
Hmm.
So that is how you learn these things.
Absolutely.
And I strongly encourage you to come aboard.
You
It's
will
like
not
nothing you've ever
learn
heard.
this in the church, people. I have to tell you, I've been a student of Dr. McQuaid and plan on becoming a student again just to refresh myself. You will not learn this in the church. And you know, I further my statement in saying that any institute of higher learning, if you go to, you know, any conventional college for 4 years, you come out with a bachelor's degree. If you go for 6 years, you come out with a master's. You go for 8 years or more, you come out with a PhD or a medical doctorate. But there are people who have been in the church, the mosque or the synagogue for 20, 30, 40, 50 years and don't know much more than when they started in Sunday school. And that's pretty sad.
Mhm.
So ignorance has been perpetuated for years
Right.
in these
Yeah,
religious systems.
and Vincent, if I can say right now about one thing about that, when you're talking about pastors and theologians and so-called biblical scholars and things, one of the main reasons that they do not understand the truth, right,
Right.
is because they've been taught a method for interpretation called hermeneutics.
Yes.
Hermeneutics was manufactured literally by the Freemasons, who
Yep.
created Christianity
Hermes.
and the other religions over the last several thousand
Yeah.
years.
Absolutely.
Hermeneutics is based on the figure Hermes
Yes.
in Freemasonry, which is the fallen angel that they hold in high
Absolutely.
in honor. They honor him, and so hermeneutics is spelled the same way, Herme. Neutics is the methodology that all pastors
Mhm.
and theologians are taught how to help them, interpret the Bible. Now, as to know how ineffective this system of hermeneutics is, just look at Christianity. Christianity they've read from the same book for more than 2,000 years. Okay, you'd think that after 2,000 years they'd be on the same page, right? They'd understand things and they'd believe the same things about the stories, the doctrines, and the figures, and all this. Well, after 2,000 years, they fragmented themselves into almost 50,000
Yeah.
denominational schisms.
That's right.
Okay, mostly because of disagreements on doctrine. That tells you, that's a glaring sign that the system of interpretation called hermeneutics is utterly flawed. When you learn how to do exegesis, right, to interpret these things according to what the Father has shown me, going back to the cuneiform, you'll not only be equipped unlike anyone else on the planet, literally, you will understand what the Bible is trying to teach you for the first time in your life. And
Yes.
that's a promise.
Yeah, definitely. And I can vouch for that. It's you won't be disappointed, those of you that are listening and that may be interested in becoming a student or even getting some literature. You will not be disappointed. Questions that you've had for years will be answered. And that's definitely a promise. Dr. McCoy, it's definitely been a pleasure. Thank you so much for being on my show. And this is not the last time. We plan on having you back again several times. It's been a real pleasure, and the information that you've shared, hopefully it has been sent out to challenge some people and get them to thinking, and just getting them to thinking about their relationship with the Most High and their own
Right.
position in spirituality, and what their purpose is on earth.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me, Vincent. It's been
Thank
my
you
pleasure.
again.
Yes,
And let me know when you'd like to
absolutely. We
have
sure will.
have another show, and we'll get together.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Thank you so much.
Sure. Well, that brings our show, Freedom Truth Radio, to the end. Thank you for those who have listened and watched on Facebook Live. We'll be back next week. Next week will not be on spirituality. Next week we'll be talking about finances and credit and how to possibly get out of your mortgage. I know you don't want to miss that, because the mortgage is a debt sentence that is given to you to lock you in for years and years. And we have a special guest that has pretty much cracked the code to helping people get out of their false mortgage. So you do not want to miss this show next week. Same time, same station, 9:30 Sunday nights. Your host here, Vincent, with Freedom Truth Radio broadcast. We're saying good night.